Blacks in technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Happy New Year's, everyone. Welcome to the 51st episode of the Bit Tech Talks, the Blacks in Technology podcast, where we, the engineers and techies, are in total control, and we guide you on a technologically filled journey through the vastness of space and time. Not really, but we're a show where we always are cooking up technology gourmet dishes, all while highlighting the people within the African American community that are making a difference and making things happen. I'm your host, Greg Greenlee, along with my fabulous co-host, Ayori Selassie. Happy New Year, Ayori.
Happy New Year, everybody.
If this is your first time tuning in, I can say you're in for a treat, and thanks for all the support. And if this isn't your first time tuning in, I say thanks for coming back, and thanks for your continued support. It is 2014, everybody. I'm excited. This is going to be a great year for Blacks in Technology. We're planning on some wonderful things, so be on the lookout for awesome wonderfulness, techfulness from BIT. If this is your first time hearing about BIT, you can join the BIT community by visiting www.blacksintechnology.net. BIT is definitely growing. The community is growing. We are now over 1,150 registered members nationwide on the site. So join, engage, participate. It's free to join. Lots of spirited and informative discussions going on, everything from career advice, information on technology happenings, programming, networking, any types of information technology or technology that you want to talk about, we are talking about it. Great for knowledge sharing, all that good stuff. We also started an RC channel. That's Internet Relay Chat, pretty much an online chat room where us techies can go and talk tech. If you're not hip to IRC, check out our blog post. We do have our technology blog that's written entirely by, all the articles on the blog written entirely by African Americans in technology, and that's Bit Tech Digest at www.bitdigest.net. If you don't want to go through the hassle of downloading an IRC client and having yet another IM type client to contend with, there is an embedded web client on our site. Just go to the home page, click on the chat, and the menu bar at the top. Okay, so BIT is looking for, social media stuff. Let me get to that. We are on Twitter, at Black in Technology, and that's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. We also have a LinkedIn group as well, and you can check us out on Facebook, and that's facebook.com/Blacks in Technology. BIT is currently looking for people who can help with the design of a BIT newsletter. So if you can assist in that area or know someone, shoot us an email. Contact us at blacksintechnology.net. We're also looking for volunteers in the social media marketing space as well. So if you can devote some time to Blacks in Technology or know someone who might be willing to devote some time, shoot us an email. I'm going to turn it over to Ayori to introduce our guest for this evening. What's going on, Ayori?
Hey, so super excited to have the topic of today to be hackathons, and we've got someone on the podcast who actually met at a hackathon, Brian Clark. Brian Clark is from Detroit. He's an entrepreneur. He's a developer. He's a designer. He wears many hats, and he's got always some, interesting, amazing projects going on. But we really wanted to invite him to this program to just sort of have him share his experience in his own life and sort of how he got to where he is today, what he's going to be doing next, but then also to talk about this topic of hackathons and, what are hackathons and, what are they here for and things like that. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. Brian, do you want to share anything more about yourself?
Hey guys, I'm again Brian Clark. I'm an avid programmer, been so for about 12 years. Started when I was young, continuing through college, high school, college, and my career. Very involved community and glad to help anybody out along the way.
That's what I'm talking about. It's all about collaboration.
All about it.
And so, what are you working on right now? What's your big project?
So there's kind of two big projects in my field right now. So for those who don't know, I recently left corporate America this past July to pursue my dream of having my own startup out in Silicon Valley. So that brought me out here with the project that I initially believed in. You know, we did a lot of learning on it, and it really got me the expanse to like learn about the Silicon Valley, kind of get involved in the tech field out here, and build some networks. Those are projects around kind of user analysis and feedback of mobile applications, and it really gave me a good perspective into how you should focus on your early stages of a startup, and kind of where you need to take it, how you need to talk to customers, sales, marketing, all the hats you don't get when you're an IT project manager at a large corporate. So that led me to today working with my team still on kind of figuring out where the next direction to take this application. And in the meantime, I'm working on a stealth project with another founder friend of mine I've met out here that will be launching in the end of February. So those keep me pretty busy. And actually another thing I do is main passion project type thing is I'm very involved in an organization called MissionBit. It's a nonprofit that was just started in San Francisco this past fall with the aim of teaching underrepresented minorities and children in high school, middle school how to program. So that keeps me busy. About 2 days a week I teach a class. We grew from one class last semester to 4 this semester. And those take up a lot of my time right now. I get involved in the community a lot, as well as grow my own self and as an entrepreneur and a developer.
Nice.
Wow,
Brian,
that's intense. That's a lot of stuff.
You're telling me.
Yeah, so Brian, so you're from Detroit, the Midwest area. You're not too
Absolutely.
far from where I'm at. Do you miss this? Do you miss the cold weather?
Not exactly miss the cold weather. I was home for about 3 weeks over the holidays in Michigan, and I got out just before the polar vortex hit, so I avoided the negative temperatures. But it got down to the single digits of number of nights, and I was not enjoying that. I was like, why did I come home again? Oh, yeah.
It is like 9 degrees right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm very glad to be in nice California and enjoy a 60-degree sunny day today.
Yeah, rub it in. Well, I'm excited to get this talk going about hackathons because Cincinnati is not a real huge tech hub. We are on the come up. There's some things brewing here in Cincinnati, but we don't have a lot of like hackathons and things like that going on. Although I've attended a couple. I actually was supposed to attend a startup event tonight, but it was actually postponed. I think it was due to weather. But I did attend there was I think it was a Black Girls Hackathon down in Atlanta earlier in the year. But I'm really interested in this topic because I always want to try and get a perspective from someone who's been there and, the inner workings of hackathons and also, what we as a community need to do, what can we be doing to get more involved in these hackathons. So what my first question is for people who aren't, hip to hackathons, what are hackathons? What is a hackathon?
Yeah, so hackathons are a really cool thing, really good for us techie people, but also for non-techies sometimes. Essentially, at the highest level, a simple hackathon is you have a very specified amount of time, generally a Friday night to a Sunday afternoon, to, from start to finish, create an entire application from scratch. So whether it's a web app, a website, a little tool, or a widget, you generally about 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours to, from scratch to finish, have a working application that you can demo off to a customer base. Generally, you build a team up of anywhere from like 1 to 5 people, generally around 2 or 3, as I've noticed a lot of the teams end up being. You hit the other Friday night. A lot of times you have your idea beforehand. Sometimes you meet people at the event, create an idea on the spot. You spend the next 48 hours, 24 hours not sleeping much, hitting the computers hard, creating some good mock-ups of apps, getting some code working, running through a lot of issues at the morning and hoping that support will continue to help you. The weekend generally wraps up. They generally have along the way they give you a lot of food and support, and like the other companies will like give you, say you want to use like a photo app. A company might use parts of their service that you can use. You don't have to write everything from scratch. And from there, you kind of get to Sunday afternoon. You have your app. You might have a couple hundred applications even from everybody at the event, building everything together. And then you go for about a minute or 2 minutes, present your idea in front of a panel of judges. And at the end of it, they pass out awards to different people.
Gotcha. So, with the hackathons, are they usually theme based? Do they usually give you like an idea, like or something to work on, or how does that work?
It kind of depends on the hackathon. So there's kind of all over the place. Hackathon's actually growing a lot in that respect. A lot of the original ones, before they had the term hackathon, they would have programming competitions, and those are less creative. When they came to this hackathon, it's more about the idea in the end. So you'll have these general hackathons where they have different sponsors from all over the place. They have different, you might have a sponsor for phone stuff or sponsor for wearables. But sometimes they'll just have it open and it's like whoever can create the coolest thing wins. But other times they'll have, for example, a hackathon I recently participated in, AT&T sponsored a hackathon featuring a lot of the AT&T stuff they can offer for your phones and all their different wearable devices they support. So in that respect, AT&T wants to build awareness of what they're doing in the developer space. So they host a hackathon, and they kind of have you focus on like, hey, we want you to build an app using our AT&T stuff, focusing in this direction, and that's kind of how we're using our judging criteria.
Are there usually any restrictions associated with the hackathons?
Yes, and this is one of the interesting things that hackathons happen a lot. A lot of times, you're not allowed to code or usually always bring code into a hackathon that you've done beforehand. So, like, you couldn't build the app today or spend a week building the app and then go to the hackathon just to see the idea. There's been a lot of issues I've seen actually in participating in hackathons where people will use stuff from before the hackathon, claiming that they built the entire thing in a weekend. So it kind of goes back, some people try and sneak things in here and there. I am proud to say I have never, ever done that in any of the hackathons I've competed in so far, but you gotta take the punches as they come at you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, people who do that, they're just whack. Yeah, they're just whack.
But usually, most people are good.
So we know why the companies like to sponsor these hackathons, because they're looking for people to do awesome things using their platforms, their services, their APIs, highlighting their product, like AT&T. I know Salesforce does hackathons. Twitter does hackathons. So all these different organizations would do them. But why do you think, people, what's the real draw for the hackers or the participants to come into these hackathons?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a number of reasons, but definitely two main ones. Number one would be they usually do a cash prize at the end of these things. So if you build an app in the course of 2 days and walk home with $10,000, you're usually a pretty happy camper. It's kind of like a badge of honor where you're kind of like, oh, yeah. Especially if you're in college, people in college doing that, or like, such as myself, an early entrepreneur, pre-funded company, making ends meet sometimes for rent and food, going to win a hackathon or two can extend your budget a little while longer. So that's one thing. But even past the money, it's kind of like a badge of honor. It's like I can kind of say, hey, I'm this good of a programmer, or, I knocked this out in a weekend. Kind of like slightly bragging rights with you and some of your other techie friends saying, I won this hackathon or won that hackathon. And also showing the fact that, like, hey, this is an app that I built in the course of 48 hours. And people are like, you really built the entire thing in 48 hours, and they're pretty impressed by that sometimes. I've had that lead to job offers sometimes before, which is another interesting thing that I never expected to have happen.
Oh, that's awesome. Actually, I got my last job lead at a hackathon as well.
There you go.
And, I didn't even really make that connection until you mentioned it. Because it is a really big, fertile ground for recruiters. They're looking for people who are, talented in the space of technology or design or business development or idea people. So that's awesome. There's so many reasons to attend these things. Like, what do you think about, in your experience, do you see, a lot of people of color at these things?
It's up and down. It's definitely growing, but there's still a pretty small smattering of them at these organizations. I would say 10 to 5% usually are people of color, and it's generally more the Silicon Valley norm of you seeing a lot of other non-people of color. So I definitely want to see more of them happen, getting other people like us out there, getting experience in the field, creating stuff that solves their own problems too. So a lot of times you'll see solutions that are made for kind of people say first world problem solutions. So people that come out here and have a different perspective on things and create different hacks that people just wouldn't even realize could solve an issue they've never seen before.
Are you? Go ahead, Ayori.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that's a good point about sort of the problems that are being solved. So if you come into a hackathon and you create a solution to a problem, you're going to create that from your own perspective. And so kind of having, different types of people from different backgrounds, from different, walks of life and experiences would then result in different kinds of solutions to those problems, right?
Exactly. And that's actually kind of where I pulled some of my early hackathon ideas from, just personal, like what do I want to solve with the tools I'm given right here, and kind of pull from your own expertise.
So, Brian, are you an advocate for hackathons that target a certain demographic? Because there's always that argument out there that if people really wanted to learn and really wanted to code, then they'll come out regardless.
Yeah, I'm a fan of doing both. It's good to have open ones, but also good to have one for a purpose. And it's not always exactly targeting a specific demographic, although it's good to when you post them in areas with different demographics, of course you'll hopefully attract more people of that type of demographic. But sometimes even like the goal of the hackathon, for example, there's one that's coming up in a couple of weeks out here in Silicon Valley, where the entire goal of the hackathon is about peace in the Middle East and eventually creating a hackathon, creating an app that can promote peace in the Middle East area. So it's not so much like a demographic at that point too. It's almost like who you're trying to affect with that demographic, and that can be something completely different. But since we have the power to create things, we can go and attempt to help these people.
That's awesome. I want peace in the Middle East. I'm going to come to that hackathon.
I'll invite you. I got a free code.
What's the name of that? Shout out that hackathon. What's the name of it?
I don't remember the exact name. I can take a look at it now. I know it's something about peace in the Middle East. Let me see if I can find the link to it. But I'll see if I can find it over the next little bit. But it's definitely a really cool hackathon. I'm actually excited to participate in soon.
I think that's really creative, though, because I've seen hackathons, set up specifically like for social good. There was a hackathon not too long ago for Obamacare, for health, and so there's lots of these different kind of things around them. But and there was also one for women a couple of months ago. Startup Weekend did one for women. And that sort of actually inspired the one that I'm working on right now with a group of people, a Startup Weekend in Oakland for Black male achievement. And it's kind of really, really interesting. The more and more I thought about it, the more it seemed like it made a lot of sense to have more people kind of like exposed to this concept of a hackathon. Because the whole thing is if you're coming in there and you decide to solve a problem, and you can get people to help you work on that problem for, 24 hours or 48 hours or however long the hackathon runs for, then you're able to get a lot more done than if you had just did it yourself. So it's almost like an incentive for you to solve problems when you know that you're going to go someplace and meet a group of people who are going to work with you to help you solve this problem.
Exactly. And it's a really cool experience to get part of that. And actually, so I found the hackathon I'm talking about. So it's called Hack for Peace, please. You can find it on Eventbrite. But yeah, Hack for Peace, I'm sure if you Google it.
Gotcha. Nice. So let me ask you this: Are some people might not or might be deterred from going to hackathons because they're not a developer or they're not a designer or they don't code or anything like that. Are the hackathons only for developers or designers?
So that kind of goes back and forth sometimes. There will be certain hackathons that specifically say you have to participate in this one. But there's also different hackathons where you can essentially be the idea person. Say if you have an idea, I would definitely say you want to find a developer friend that can help you bring it to life. But even if you can sometimes go to those hackathons, a lot of times they'll have early on pitch your idea sections on the stage. So people can go up with an idea for a hack and say, hey, I have this idea. I think it's really cool. I'm looking for 2 developers to build it with me. Hit me up if you want to join my team. And a lot of times I've seen, people take that and the idea person just recruits a couple people on the spot and they build something and win. And even if you're not a specific developer designer too, it's not too hard to take from being a basic designer. You can come in there to draw up some applications, do some basic design work. If you have an idea, you don't have the best drawer in the world. I'm not. But, you keep doing it more and more, take your ideas, put it on the paper, and then work with people to bring it to life. They're willing to take it when you have a good idea behind it.
What about as far as
I met a group of girls at one of the Angel Hack. I was judging for Angel Hack, and these ladies, they had never built anything before. They came in, they had their idea to build an app to basically send letters for like wedding invitations and wedding thank you notes and stuff like that. And so they worked with people in the course of a couple of days and hacked some stuff together. I mean, in the end, I think the thing that they presented was a launch page with like a section where you can join a mailing list, and they had sort of like the idea on the web page. And so they didn't even build a full app, but it still sticks out in my head. The experience of meeting them and hearing their story and stuff like that. I actually connected with them afterwards, and I was like, if you guys keep building this, let me know, because I'll help.
That's awesome to see, too.
So that kind of answered the question that I had about, what, skill level is involved when it comes to hackathons. As far as the coders, like, can you be a beginner coder and go to the hackathons and help out, or, are they usually just looking for, skilled coders to participate?
Oh, it's all over the board. I've actually, as I said earlier, I teach high schoolers, middle schoolers how to code. And one of the high schoolers I worked with last semester really picked it up quick. So he's been coding for maybe now all of 4 months, but he wants to come participate in a hackathon this coming February. So there's people that have been coding for, maybe a couple months. And then there's, people that have been doing it 15 to 20 years. It's really no barrier to entry. It's just all about you getting in there and dodging headfirst and taking a chance at it.
Nice.
Along that grain, though, I wonder in terms of like what you hack. Like, are people building everything from scratch at these hackathons? Like, are there shortcuts? Are they able to use other services? Like, how, like, because 48 hours or whatever, that's not a long time. So if you do build something, what do you think? Well, like, how do they do this?
Yeah, there's definitely number of shortcuts you can use along the way. So one, if you guys aren't familiar with something called APIs, essentially an API is like, say you're and you want to build something where you can access this full spectrum of items. They provide that back to the program. So I don't have to go out there and scrape their website or pull all this data. A lot of companies provide these things to allow you to access the data ahead of time. And they also provide that information beforehand, so you can actually scope out terrain or even map out exactly what you want to build and whose services you want to use. And then when you get there, you can start coding. And then sometimes you can even knock out an app in 4 or 5 hours for the entire hackathon.
Okay. So you can take advantage of companies' APIs in order to help build whatever you want to build.
Exactly. So that's very, very prevalent. And a lot of times, even at these hackathons, like say there's a grand prize for second, third place, but these people that provide their APIs, so say for example, I worked with Kohl's once. Kohl's will provide a prize for the best implementation of their API on top of the other grand prize of the hackathon. So a lot of times maybe instead of focusing on the grand prize, you want to focus on that, you might also want to focus on some of these side prizes, because those can also be very valuable as well, and give you some good experience of working with some cool APIs and doing some interesting implementations that people never thought of before.
Nice. So what has been some of your successes at the hackathons?
Interestingly, one of my most successful hackathon apps was actually one of the first ones I did. I built the entire thing in about 4 hours, which is pretty funny. It kind of goes back to what I said of solving your own problem. So it was seriously put on the hackathon. And it was essentially, they gave you an API again for a catalog into all of the Sears, and also owned by them as Kmart, things they sell. So I came up with the idea of essentially, whenever it's like my mom's birthday or like say it's a girlfriend's year's anniversary coming up, I'm really bad at remembering to buy presents. So I came up with the idea of called Instagift. And say, it's your mom's birthday tomorrow, your girlfriend's anniversary tomorrow. You can go on this app and hit popular buy for females today. It'll show you what you can buy. And actually, the interesting kick to it was it's going to show you exactly what you have that object shipped to you.
Hey, Brian, real quick, you're kind of breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I'm not sure why.
No problem.
Hear me now?
Yeah. It's just going in and out of here and there.
Oh, that's weird. I have good signal. But so
okay.
it was an app where you can buy a gift right away for your girlfriend for anniversary tomorrow, your mom's birthday, and it shows you the price for that application or for that object to be sent to your house by the next day, already gift wrapped. So essentially, all I had to build for that was an application that pulled in all the objects from Sears and Kmart that I think would be relevant. So things like jewelry and other little objects like that. And then I adjusted the price to automatically pull the shipping cost for one-day shipping for those items. And just put a pretty kind of red, almost like, Valentine's Day colored interface on top of it. And I ended up winning a pretty solid cash prize for that application that I built in all of 4 hours.
Nice. Is that application?
4 hours. And you won a prize.
Won a pretty big prize at that, too. It was pretty cool.
Is that application available anywhere?
It is not available on the store.
Okay.
I ran into a few issues with the APIs that would take me probably more than 4 hours to actually flesh out a production-ready version of the application. But one day, hopefully, InstaGift will come to life.
Nice.
So
nice.
I will keep you guys updated.
Okay.
So then the hackathons is not for the perfectionists then, because it's not so much about like fit and finish, right? It's really about sort of the concept that you're able to kind of illustrate. Is that right?
Exactly. So usually when you go fix these things, you have 1, maybe 2 minutes. So when it comes to building a real product, you're going to give your pitch of the core features of it, but you might have 50 other things you do that you never talk about in your pitch. So for a hackathon, it's all about getting that very core feature done really well. So it's not perfectionist. It's more like getting something that works right and then putting a prettier face on top of it and then pitching off the problem and solution you're putting together.
Good. That's good.
Because the first thing I learned when I went through a startup weekend was sort of through that whole pitching process of 60 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever you have, is that you just have to really get to the unique, proposition. You got to get to like, why this is great. And nothing is great because it has 100 features. It's like there's one thing that's awesome about it. And that's really all you need to work on. That's really all you need to illustrate. And that's that concept of the minimum viable product. Can you talk a little bit about, what a minimum viable product is and kind of how that, maybe how people can wrap their head around that and be able to kind of not overwhelm themselves in their idea development?
Yeah, definitely. So again, the minimum viable product is what an example is. It's just cutting your product down to what's the very central thing you need to do. So when you look at let's say Instagram, for example, Instagram has direct picture sending and it has comments, it has likes, it has the explore area. But the core feature of that is pictures with filters. So essentially for a hackathon, you just want to build something that shows pictures from your friends with filters on top of it. So kind of it goes back to this, what is your core competency? What is the problem you're solving? What's the solution? Now, what's interesting, and me and my friends kind of coined this term recently, is instead of building a minimum viable product for hackathons, we build what we call a minimum viable demo. So it's one step below that. If you have a minimum viable product, you can give it to users and get the feedback. But for a hackathon, you're not going to have a lot of early users, so you want to get something that works to the point where when you run your demo, the application is actually working. But some of these side features you might talk about may or may not work all the time. So kind of getting a minimum viable demo out there for these hackathons.
I love it.
Interesting.
I have to say, I want a hackathon with a PowerPoint presentation. So, I mean,
now, there's interesting. And that's another interesting one. Some hackathons aren't so focused on you actually coding an app. There's different rules for different hackathons. Some hackathons essentially be pitch an idea for an app and some screenshots. But then there's other hackathons I participated in. For example, AT&T one, where after we walked off stage with our demo, they actually pulled up their network instead and checked if you actually pulled API calls through their system. And if you didn't, your entry wasn't validated. So it really varies. Check the rules first, but do what's necessary for the minimum viable demo. That's very key to the hackathon.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So what are some things that a newcomer to a hackathon should expect, or something that they should, some things that they should always remember when they go to a hackathon? Like, are there, should they have like a well thought out pitch ready, or should they, what are some things?
Having a well thought out pitch ready ahead of time definitely helps you a lot. Even if you don't have that, do that first sometimes can help you change possibly what your hack's going to look like at the end. So sometimes I did that with the Instagift idea, for example. I put together what my pitch was going to look like on Friday night. So I spent Friday evening putting my pitch together. And then I just spent, like I said, the 4 hours on Saturday afternoon actually building the app that fit that pitch. And so I already knew exactly how I was going to tell a story around the app and what the app needed to do for my demo. So for that respect, I just kind of went through and built what was necessary for the pitch to fit together. And it worked out well. So that's one thing to be prepared to that one. But sometimes, you can do it the other way around, hack stuff. But I definitely say having like a goal in mind, a very specific goal of what you're going to show off is definitely keys to success. Also, another thing you have to remember interesting with hackathons is since you only have 1 to 2 minutes to pitch, usually having something flashier. So when you're thinking of ideas, usually something flashy, whether however you want to use flashy, tend to seem to win quite a bit. Whatever your flashy feature may be, but it's something like specifically catches people's eyes if you talk about that one feature. And having that core flashy feature is very, very key to have in your mind ready to jump into one of these events.
Gotcha. So on the opposite side of that, what shouldn't you do at a hackathon?
You shouldn't break the rules. Another one, actually, the biggest one is sometimes people come in with a too ambitious idea.